Hello, my name is Ben and welcome to What Can It Earn, a series where I play 25 battles in World of Tanks Console Edition in a particular tank and share with you the highlights of those battles, followed by a short summary of my silver earnings in those games. I've tracked all my battle data across those 25 games, all solo battles with no ops turned on, and will give you a summary of the most interesting parts at the end of this video. Premium tanks in World of Tanks are a great way to make loads of silver, and this series is aimed to help people to know the difference in silver earnings for different premium tanks, as well as sharing with you an awesome compilation of highlights from those games. Now today's tank is the SU-122-44, a tier 7 Soviet premium tank destroyer. This is a TD best suited to short and mid-range fighting due to its well-angled armor and massive damage per minute. It's also pretty fast and agile, making it hard to be flanked and an excellent flanker itself. It's let down somewhat by its poor gun depression, aim time and accuracy, as well as having subpar view range, which is fairly common among Soviet tank destroyers. So that's a quick look at the strengths and weaknesses of this tank. Let's jump in and have a look at the highlights. So welcome back, hopefully you enjoyed those highlights. Now it's time to have a little look at those silver earnings. Now make sure you keep in mind that these earnings are going to differ depending on your skill level in this tank relative to my own. So if you think you're a bit better than I am in this tank, you can expect to make a bit more, and if you think you're not quite as good, you'll probably make a little bit less. I've tried to be completely honest. I've kept the amazing games, I've kept the terrible derpy fail games where I did 200 damage, so I think that should all balance out pretty nicely and give us some pretty useful data to have a look at. So let's jump in. So the SU-122-44 made some pretty good silver and was one of the most fun tanks to drive so far in this series. It made just shy of 55,000 silver on average per game with a premium account, bringing in a maximum of 95,000 in any one game and an average silver per hour of around 458,000. This puts it around 8,000 more silver per game than I managed in the E25, despite the E25 having far cheaper standard ammo than the SU. This difference, however, is mostly down to the sheer amount of damage that the SU was able to unleash relative to the E25. Whilst the E25 has comparable DPM, the sheer alpha of the SU means I found it a lot easier to maintain higher average damage than I did in the E25. They are also very different tanks, so whilst the E25 will be sniping from behind bushes at range, which runs the risk of you finding yourself in a spot where there aren't that many people to shoot, the SU is more of a short to mid-range brawling tank, so you're much more likely to find yourself in the thick of the action, actually using your DPM to its full potential. Although the high amount of assisted damage I got in the E25 does help even out those earnings a little bit. I know a lot of people who are much better in both of those tanks than I am, but I certainly perform better in the SU than I did in the E25 when compared to the average player performance across the whole player base in terms of damage per game. Compared to tier 8 premium tanks, the 55k figure is about 25 to 35,000 less silver per game, so it's a fairly significant drop for one tier, but then it's also a pretty significant drop in gold cost from a tier 8 premium tank to a tier 7 premium tank. So let's take a look at my battle performance. I managed to do almost 1700 average damage per game with a 72% win rate, which is pretty much the same as my overall stats in this tank, and quite a bit higher than the average stats for the tank as a whole on World of Tanks console. I didn't have any especially monster games in this tank, with a highest base XP of 1,559 not being especially impressive, so I definitely think that I underperformed in this tank compared to some of the others that I've tested, such as the Jagdtiger 88, in which I had 7 games with a higher base XP than that. It makes me think that it'd be useful maybe to revisit some of these videos as a second series or as a follow-up and do another 25 games and see how much that changes the averages, and we might get a better indication of how accurate that data is. So was there anything else of note? Well, the silver per hour on the SU-122-44 and the E25 are actually pretty much identical, even with an 8,000 difference per game in silver. The E25 just generally had shorter games over those 25 battles. But I can't really see any good reason for this, so I think this is mostly down to the small dataset of 25 games being easily influenced by the occasional long game. The E25 does get preferential matchmaking, which the SU-122-44 does not, meaning it could potentially get slightly longer games, since I find higher tier games sometimes run a bit longer than low tier ones, but the data from these matches doesn't really support that too heavily. So is it a good silver earner? Yeah, it seems to be the best tier 7 I've looked at so far, though I've only tested 2. I'm planning on checking the Dicker Max sometime, so it'll be interesting to see how that fares. It's also a really fun tank to play, and the quick reload can catch people by surprise. When they get hit for 400 damage, they normally don't expect to get hit again quite so soon. It takes a bit of getting used to play a brawling tank destroyer like this, especially if you're used to sniping in one, and I found I kept drifting towards long distance engagements and having to check myself and move closer in. So keep that in mind. If brawling isn't your thing in a TD, then this probably isn't the tank for you. You need to be thinking fast and utilizing your maneuverability to get in the best positions possible, and also to dodge and bounce shots at close range with your well-sloped armor. If you'd like to see all the data from these 25 games, then there is a link in the description to a forum topic in which I will share the full set of results for you to take a look at and discuss if you wish. So that's it for this week. If you enjoyed the video and like to see more, then please hit the like button and leave a comment, and that helps us know that we should keep making some more of these. We aim to have a new episode out every Friday, so make sure you're subscribed and check back in regularly. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. My name's Ben, we're the Beard Guys, and I'll catch you next time.